Welcome to Zero Credibility Sports. It's me and Justin. We're in the midst of the playoff game right now. Portland Trailblazers against the Denver Nuggets in overtime. How you doing, Justin?
Yeah, all right. I think there's about a minute left in overtime. Like, are you watching the game? I'm watching the game.
No, I turned it off, man. I have to focus on this. And my cooking as well.
Yeah. Tied. It's still tied. It's one. Oh no! Well, Denver just scored a basket. It's 109, 107, 47 seconds left. But I'll tell you how it ends, I guess.
Let's go. Okay, let's start with like a different game first. Let's go talk about, and we'll come back to the game. But let's start with the Warriors against the Rockets. Warriors are 2 games up.
Yes, I think this is the dream matchup in the conference.
Yeah,
and like this is a matchup I was really excited about, actually.
I think it's been surprisingly tight the last 2 games.
It's been surprisingly tight. I don't think it's been. I mean, you expect this series to be tight, though. I think.
I actually expected Warriors to win the first 2 comfortably, and maybe the Rockets might give them it'll be a tight Rockets win at the Toyota Stadium. But I guess it's turning out to be tighter in the in the Oracle. So I mean, it shows. I'm quite positive for the Rockets now after watching like bits of the games, and I think the most interesting bit about this game is the officiating issues. And I've been sending videos to you on Instagram, about like all the news that are covering, whether are the officials are favoring a bias towards the Warriors and so on. But the pushback is that James Harden is purposely he's shooting these threes and jumping into the opponent on purpose for these fouls. So I think that's the main kind of topic about this matchup. So I want you to know what's your take on this, in terms of do you think there's a referee bias towards the Warriors?
I don't think there's an inherent bias. I know as long as the NBA has been around, or for very, very, very long anyway, there's always been these conspiracy theories about how the NBA favors the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron's on there because it's good for business, right? It's good for business if LeBron wins the championship. Yeah. So the NBA favors, the Cavs, so they'll give them calls during the playoffs, and then it's good business for the Warriors to win the championship. So they'll give them calls, it's good business for one NBA to favor one team over the other. But I don't really believe it. I don't think that there's an inherent Warriors bias in the game in terms of officiating.
But there's one study which I think is kind of true. It's an unconscious bias. Someone did a study on if a black referee, if it's an all black referee, they tend to give the fouls more to the black players, and vice versa for the white referees. So that's more of an unconscious bias, I think. But
but there's no there's no conspiracy. It's not
true.
So that's sort of whatever, and that sort of stuff you can say, the home team will tend to get more calls as well, so they played the first 2 games at the Oracle. They're playing the next 2 in Houston. So I don't think there's a conspiracy people are making it out to be.
No, but because it got a bit of, it's kind of a big deal because the Rockets built a data-driven case, and sent a report to the NBA, complaining a little. And then there's Steve Kerr throwing shade left, right, and center. So is the Rockets. There's a real kind of feud between these 2 teams, which makes the series way more interesting than it already is. And it is very interesting already. So this is definitely, in my personal opinion, the series of this round in the playoffs.
I mean, I think even before the series started, you could this could be
the final, the real final.
Yeah, this could be an I know it's not possible, but if it was an NBA final, right? This is the caliber of the team and caliber of game, I think.
Yeah.
No, but I think the controversy is a lot around the 2 things. One is James Harden getting the calls, especially in game 2, rather than not getting the calls. And then it's also about, the stuff that's being put out by the Rockets organization in terms of like perpetuating this, like, we're not getting the calls, our players are being protected, here's the analytics on the calls and all that sort of stuff. So to touch on that second point first, so, my understanding is that like Daryl Morey is a very analytics driven sort of GM.
Yeah.
So, for them to come out with basically a book, which analyze the calls and all that sort of stuff, it's in a way unsurprising. But I can see why this strategy doesn't rather makes the Warriors look like the bad guy. I know a lot of like neutral fans are like upset at the Rockets.
Yeah.
Because they feel like the Rockets are trying to game the system.
Yeah.
And, I can sort of understand that.
Hack, he's an offensive hack. No, but like the Rockets are kind of an analytical driven team. Like look at D'Antoni. It's all about like efficiency. Shoot volumes and it will be fine. Like outgun the opponent. And I think what they're doing is actually like I don't think it's wrong, right? They're just trying to like it's kind of a bit of like mind games, right? They're trying to let the referees know. Like they're trying to kind of influence the referee. So like when it comes to Houston, with all this controversy, it might kind of lean towards their way, for the next few calls.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. Yeah, but there's also the way that I guess James Harden tries to sell the fouls. The way that Chris Paul acts on the court as well. Some people get a bit annoyed at that, but
I get so turned off.
I don't know. Some people say like, oh, like what. All right, let's take James Harden as let's look at him specifically, right? People say that what he does is not in the spirit of the game, right? Quote unquote, is not in the spirit of the game, right? And he's just trying to, game the system, quote unquote, game the system so that he gets foul calls, right? Because his conversion rate from the free throw line is going to be way higher than his conversion rate from the 3-point line.
Yeah,
right.
He's been atrocious, to be honest, on the 3-point. But I mean, like that's the game, right? It's just like you just keep letting him shoot.
Yeah. So basically, what he tries to do, is try to get his free throw line. So, like there was that video. I think it was Scott Van Pelt. Was showing his different form when he was like you sent it to me. It was showing his different form when he's wide open compared to when he's being covered.
Yeah.
Basically, when he's wide open, he goes up and down. When he's being covered, he jumps forward or he tries to kick out. Basically, he tries to draw contact.
Yeah, he tries to draw contact. It's like soccer, right? When like that when you're in front of the player or when like it's a 50-50 ball, you try to go towards him so you get the contact, you get the foul. It's all tactical.
Yeah, it's all tactical.
Strategic. Sorry, it's strategic, not strategic, not tactical. Yeah.
Yeah, and in some ways, okay, personally, I feel that that's fine, right? I understand that it's not, I guess, quote unquote, in the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
Or you're sort of like, yeah, like.
All right.
But
you go down.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I think it's fine is because, if there are a set of rules and you follow the rules, right? But you find some little way that you can massage the rules a bit to make it work to your advantage.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you do it? At the end of the day, like these teams are not here to, advertise the purest sport of basketball. They're here to win. That's what they're here to do.
Yeah.
So if I'm here to win, right, I'm gonna do everything I can, right, legally, to win.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree with you. I truly agree with you. I think like it's like the will to win, right? You know how like some people just respect certain people's attitude because they do anything to win. Anything to win, anything within the realm of the game to win. And for me, I look at it like this. Like obviously, I mean, for me, like the way I look at it, like the only sport that I can really like truly understand all the dark arts to the, like side of the game is because I play it a lot. Is like football, right? Sometimes people dive. People like like pretend the tackle hurts them more than it is, and so on. But like for me, at the end of the day, I used to get upset. But like it's in the game, right? It's like EA, like what EA Sports said, it's in the game.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
So that's why I fully agree with you that like everything that the Rockets are doing, they're just basically trying to use every mechanism possible to try to put the game in their favor. So yeah. I think it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Rockets go in being underdogs, right, in this series. So if you're already an underdog, why wouldn't you try everything you can to get as much advantage as you can? Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're a fan of the Rockets, right?
Yeah.
And they don't do this, right? Like James Harden doesn't try to get to the free throw line.
Yeah.
You'd be upset, right? You'd be like, what the hell? Like, why isn't he trying to get to the free throw line?
Yeah.
Like, that's how we're gonna win the game.
Yeah.
So for me, I find it very. Like I said, I understand the neutral's perspective. I understand why people might get upset.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's all winning.
True. But this springs up a very interesting topic. What about what's your take? Do you think they're cheating in any way, or is this like on the lines of cheating, but it's not cheating? They're just like pushing the boundaries, so to speak.
How is it cheating? Show me where in the rule book it says that when you take a 3-pointer, you have to go up and down, like you can't move forward at all. Show me in the rule book where it says that.
Okay. So it's within the rules then. Clearly, it's clear within the rules.
I mean, it's within the rules in the sense that it's not prescribed, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no prescription in the rules, right? And it's about, I guess, interpretation of the rules, right?
Yeah, it's like law, right? It's like it's not within the spirit of the law, but it's within the word of the law.
Yeah, exactly. So there's nothing in the rule book saying like, oh, when you take a jump shot, you have to go up and down.
Yeah,
right?
True. Yeah.
So like, like what do you expect to do? Like,
yeah. True. No, I think that's like clear. Then it's clear that the Rockets are doing everything within the rules, within the word of the law of the NBA to try to win. And I think that's that should be communicated clearly to everyone. So it's kind of like a clear answer to this like debate they have going on, and we'll see what happens. What's your take? What do you think is going to happen in Houston? You think the Rockets are going to come home with both games and go back?
I'm not so sure about that. I can see Golden State winning one. I can see Golden State winning at least one in Houston. And the reason I say that is because I think that they've overall. And maybe it's a bit sort of a tainted view because of the way that the fouls are not getting called. And by the way, those fouls, I think the fouls in game 1 and 2 on Harden are fouls. By the way,
I agree. No, like
the one where they jump into his landing zone and all that sort of stuff. I think those are actually fouls.
Those are actual fouls, and it brings up the question. Is it on purpose? Like, is this like a Because if you think about it, right, like if you're playing against James Harden, that's the last thing you kind of want to do, right? Jump into his jumping zone when he's gonna, jump a bit forward, right?
Yep.
So I'm trying to like figure out why are the players drilled in to do it, or is it it's just natural reaction, trying to shut him down?
No, I don't think it's natural reaction. I mean, I think it's one of those where like you try to test out the official, right? Because the officials are not the same every game. Right, the officials are different, so and they call things differently. So this like James Harden issue, right, quote unquote issue, right, has been talked about for the whole season, actually, like the entire season, and refs are aware of it, right?
Dude, half the highlights have like videos of players getting fouled for not even touching him. The half the highlight videos, so, focusing on players getting fouled, like players will be putting their hands behind their back. And they still, draw a foul, No, I mean, draw a foul.
Yeah. So the spotlight on like James Harden and foul calls has been there for the whole season. Yeah. So when it comes to the playoffs, obviously the refs are going to, first of all, they call fouls a bit harsher, like rather a bit tighter, and so like maybe some refs feel like, hey, like reviewing my performance during the season, I actually don't think these are fouls, or maybe like of the 100 calls I've given to Harden, maybe only 50 of them are fouls. So I'm going to be more careful in calling this foul in the playoffs.
Yep.
Right. But in all honesty, I do think that the majority of those calls that weren't made in game 2, especially, I think they were legit fouls though.
No, I agree. Dude, like they were, they definitely were. But I think it's going to be an interesting series left because Harden got bumps, but Curry's ankles are a bit off. I think he twisted it twice, or like he.
Yeah, I think he's carrying an ankle thing and a hand thing as well.
Yeah, so, but he still came up clutch in the first game, and like the second game he still contributed quite heavily to the team's performance. But we're just talking about these guys, but we're still forgetting about the probably the best NBA player right now, Kevin Durant. That guy has been shooting the lights out.
Yeah, I mean he's really stepped up. Been been good. But I think a game against the Rockets, right? It's really won or loss in like how you can defend James Harden, right? Yeah. And we saw against the Jazz like how they defended James Harden. So after they won the Jazz series, I was very interested to see how the Warriors would defend James Harden, because in the Jazz series, pretty much they put a guy on his left, right? So he can't take and many times behind him.
Yeah.
So he can't take the step back three, and he's forced to drive to the lane.
He's supposed to drive
to the lane with his right hand, right?
Yeah, right hand.
And then so they force him to do two things. Either you take the floater, in which case the center and the Gobert in the middle will come out and contest, or you take a tough layup on his right hand, which he just doesn't particularly like to do.
Yeah.
Or you pass it off to someone. And in some games that tactic works really well. Like the Jazz, it worked really well for them.
When the Jazz won that one game, that you started to think, oh right, shit, all you have to do is just shut down James Harden, and
I think every team knows that. All you have to do is shut down James Harden. It's just a matter of how you shut down James Harden. So that was the Jazz's tactic to shut down James Harden, and they managed to do it really well in one game. And actually, in I think it was in game 3 or something as well, or one of the games where they lost, but they played pretty well.
They lost game 4. They lost game 4.
Yeah, but they played pretty well, and they defended pretty well overall, I thought.
And he still.
So I was keen to see how Golden State would defend him, right? Yeah. Whether they'd use this Jazz tactic to defend him, but they're not doing that, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I think. I mean, to be fair, if you're the Rockets, if you're the Warriors, right? If you're outside looking at the Warriors as well, that they have more, gun firepower compared to the Rockets, right?
Yeah.
And I think Clay is almost I'm not saying he's sufficient, but I think Clay does a good enough job to make it hard for Harden, and the Warriors would be fine. They have they have Steph firing, they have Kevin Durant firing on all cylinders. He's trying to prove a point. This season, it seemed like if you look at the playoffs, right? I think we all can tell that it's Kevin Durant. It looks like Kevin Durant is taking the lead. He's the man of the team in the playoffs. Not throughout the season, but in the playoffs. He's the guy shooting the lights out game, every playoff game. So I think he's gonna if they go through and win it this year. I think we had this conversation multiple times throughout the season. He has that confidence of being a leader for a team, and I think next season, he's gonna finally have his own team. I think that's a different conversation for a different time. But if that happens, I think that'll be very exciting. Yeah. Man, it's scary, man. It's so scary. With his back towards the basket at any part of the court, he still can score a bucket on you. That's crazy. And
he's a great player. He's a great offensive player, and also, I think a lot of people overlook the fact that he's a 7-foot guy who is very, very agile, and he's got a great shooting touch, and there's not many 7-footers that can say that.
They move fast.
In fact, there's very, very few 7-footers that can say that. How agile he is, how good with the ball, his ball handling skills are. His he has a very nice soft touch, like soft shooting form. Like he can drive and drive, stop on a dime, step back and take a jump shot. Like there's very, very, very few 7-footers that can do that.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think he's like, that's why he, it's in his Instagram handle, Easy Money Sniper. The guy is the guy's money for shooting, man. Like when at any angle, like that's crazy.
Yeah, and because of his height, he's almost impossible to defend as well.
Oh yeah, no, you're not gonna block his shot. You're gonna hope that he misses.
Yeah.
That's all he can.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously he's a big reason why the Warriors are favorites. If he's having an off night, you go to Clay, you go to Steph. Like so.
Yeah, then with love,
Yeah.
Last playoff season, it was definitely Steph was like the man of every series. But this series, I mean, most of the series, but this playoffs in particular, it's been KD. So
but I feel also maybe it might be to do with like a bit of the injuries that Steph is carrying.
Yeah. True.
But also like the Warriors have been known to be like they'll give it to the hot hands. Like if KD is having a good game, they'll keep giving it to KD. There's no egos here, so to speak. So yeah, it's like but you're right. He's definitely having a great game. But I really hope that the Rockets, from a neutral's perspective, I want the Rockets to win the next two. Yeah, I want James Harden to go off.
I agree. I want to see James Harden sinking threes, doing a dance. Putting that fire to the series. But
and I think he will. Like over 4 games, I think he will have at least one good game, at least. Right?
No, but I like to think he's definitely we had this discussion like one of the last few episodes about how like they're playing differently. I agree, but I think he's kind of stepped up a little bit in the sense where he's not. I mean, he's still like obviously looking for fouls, but he has a bit more of that aggression. He has a bit more of that like I'm gonna shoot, and I know I'm gonna score, like that kind of mentality. Rather like he doesn't get rattled easily now.
I mean, but great players have short-term memory. So
yeah. So I think
that's how it is and how it's supposed. And also, he's given the license to do it by the coach and by the team. He's given the license to do it. Like if you're like if you're let me think of someone. If you're who. All right, who's a funny player who you like?
A funny.
If you're J.R. Smith.
Yeah, I do. You gotta say J.R.
If you're J.R. Smith,
Nick
right?
Young, Swaggy P.
Yeah, if you're Swaggy P, right? Like, and you take, and you're just having a bad. You're missing shots every single. Like, you're missing every shot you're taking that night, right?
Like
missing every shot. Like, and you keep shooting. You think your team's gonna be fine with that? You think your team's gonna be happy with you? No, man.
No,
and
but
the coach is gonna put you in the bench because he doesn't give you the license to do that shit.
But you know how Swaggy P lives, right? He has no reverse mirror because he doesn't look back.
Yeah, and that's probably part of his problem, right?
Yeah, true. No, but like I think it's great. I think I have one more question about this series before we move on. Like, do you think the Rockets are struggling for firepower? I know they got James Harden, but I'm talking about the rest of the team. If you look at that series with the Jazz, I think they only scored more than like 110 points in one game, and that was like game 1, I think, where they blew the Jazz out, 122-90. Yeah, game 1 in Houston. But the rest of the
I hear what you're saying, and during the playoffs, the scores, like scoring is always going to be compressed, right? Because there's harder defense, and players play, players play harder pretty much, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the problem with the Rockets as a team, and this is true even in the regular season, is that they're a 3-point shooting team, right? They're a jump shot team, right? Yep. That's primarily where the bulk of their shots are going to be, and so if they're missing, right, it's going to be a struggle for them to score. So So yeah, like there'll definitely be nights where they get blown out, right? Because they're just missing shots. But when they're sinking those shots, which tends to be, which more often than not. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, basically, I think you're right. I think they do lack, for example, like like a DeMarcus Cousins, someone that, all right, if all our shots from the outside is not sinking, we throw it into the post, and he does a bit of, a shimmy shake, and he gets a layup.
Yeah.
Like Capella's good, but he's not really that reliable option to get you a score down low, like on his own.
Since he's not on the right tier of player that the Rocket need for to be a legitimate second option, you know what I mean? I mean, Chris Paul is good, but Chris Paul is not as good this. Maybe it's the system that doesn't allow him to perform as well as the last series they had, where he was very effective and very important.
Yeah, I mean, sort of, but the way that the Rockets, traditionally people say jump shooting teams can't win, or won't really win, right? Because you rely too much on your jump shot. And those are lower efficiency shots compared to shots, which are close to the rim, layups,
the
all that sort of stuff. The Rockets blew that idea out of the water, right? The Rockets blew that idea out of the water because they were a jump shot team, when they won their first championship, right? And I think they've also evolved their game along the years to have different weapons, right? Where they've got players that can drive. They brought in Boogie Cousins for a reason, all that sort of stuff, right? Now, the way I think that the Rockets have sort of overcome that problem of quote unquote, all right, if our jump shot's not falling, where are we going to get easy baskets, right? And the answer to that question for them is the free throw line.
Yeah,
right.
True.
So. But if they're not getting free throw line because the refs are not calling clear fouls, right, that hampers their game plan, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if your game plan is based around getting fouls, it's up to any, it's usually up. You put it up to chance, right? Because it's human officials.
Yeah, that's true, but this team knows how to draw fouls, they know how to draw fouls. But I understand you're right. You're asking someone else to blow the whistle, right?
Yeah.
And you might get screwed on that.
Screwed? Oh, okay. So it seems like we know you're leaning towards the Rockets.
I mean, no, I'll say it I'll say it again. I said this whole time, right? Those, I think James Harden's getting fouled, but he's not getting the calls. Those are legitimate fouls. I think most people, objectively can also say that a lot of those are legitimate fouls. Whether you like it or not, how the foul is created or drawn, it doesn't matter.
Within the rules, it's a foul. It's a foul.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah.
I reckon let's move on to the other series. But let's move on to the Bucks Celtics. So the Bucks took Game 3 today. So they lead 2-1. They lead the series 2-1. They took it. They beat the Celtics at the TD Center in Celtics' backyard. So it's looking like a whole new, looking like a real whole new Bucks in terms of playoff Bucks. Giannis doesn't seem like he's under the pressure, and he, unlike last season where they dropped out the first round, it seems like a new, very aggressive. I mean, he's always been aggressive, but I like to think that's newfound confidence in the playoffs. And I mean,
he's a different player from last season. He's a much better player from last season. Right? Yeah, full stop.
Yeah, and I think his team is wrong. And the team is just better, right?
I mean, he's got better pieces around him. They've had another year to work on their game plan. There's good team spirit. All that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, Giannis is just he's just a better player than from last season, and he's there comes a time and it comes experience. So yeah, but I was I'm hoping that this series goes down to the wire.
Same.
I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the Celtics won game one.
Yeah.
And they won it quite convincingly. But I was pleasantly surprised when they won game one, because I like, in my heart of hearts I could sort of think like, oh man, like I could see the Bucks blowing them out 4-0, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, because this, like, this Celtics team, right, is so like, what's the word? They're so like delicate, like you.
Yeah, you mean mentally, right?
Yeah. So you can see, like, it just, one thing goes wrong, right? You can definitely see like this whole team just saying, all right, screw it, like.
Damn,
like we mentioned this before, like there are chemistry issues in this team.
Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah, but
so,
it seemed like people did together for this series, right? I mean, for the playoffs.
Winning helps, right? Winning helps, but I mean, let's be real. Like, they beat the Pacers in round one, and that was, in the end, it turned out to be not too difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but this is their real test. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like and in game one, basically they executed a game plan which everyone says, right, to execute against the Bucks. As long as you can slow down Giannis, right, you're not gonna stop him. Like, he's just too big, he's just too strong, right?
Yeah.
He's too athletic, he's too agile. You're not gonna stop him, right? Yeah. But if you can slow him down, right,
there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance that you win. And that's what they did in game one. They did perfectly in game one.
But what's scary, like, I think the reason why, like, now people should be confident on the Bucks is that they were able to make an adjustment, and that getting more of the other players involved. If you look at like the game that was played today, the other players around him were sinking buckets. Middleton contributed 20 points. George Hill with a big 21 points. All these little pieces. So
yeah, I mean, but that's their game plan throughout the whole
regular season,
right? Like, they know, like this team is built around Giannis, right? And I remember we had this conversation a while ago with someone who shall not be named, right? Around how this team is built, where Giannis is the main focal point, and they surround him with shooters, right? Mm-hmm. So that he's the primary ball handler. He'll come up the court. He'll try to drive or whatever, right? And then he will inevitably draw attention, and it will inevitably draw a double team because he's so big and he's so strong, right? And then so you dish it out to the open man, and they shoot. They take their 3-point shot, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of the reason why they went for Mirotic, where they got Mirotic in the trade.
Yeah, and I think it's
So this team is built around Giannis, no doubt, right? And I know the way that I present it is a very simplified way of assessing their strategy, but I think it's quite clear, right? So yeah, like, it'll be like I said, like, you can't stop him. You can't stop him. You can slow him down, but if the other guys are on their game, then yeah, that's the problem. But I think better teams will be able to find defensive solutions. Yeah. But like you said, I think it is like, them winning the next two games really, like, they're able to make adjustments. They're able to, to sort of say, all right, this is how they've chosen to defend this in game one. All right, we're going to make an adjustment and change how we like, just a small change in how we do things in the next game, and they won the next two.
All right, we'll see whether Celtics can respond. I don't think you think they can, right?
I don't know, man. Like, this team is every time you look at this team on paper, right, you think like, man, this team is so good, man.
Yeah, you do. You look like so balanced. It's like got these players in every position.
Yeah.
And the bench, and the bench.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, yeah. That's why it's so,
like,
it's so like, you feel like such a waste, right?
It is, yeah. There's a bit of an enigma, right? Like, like, they're so talented, and they show that talent, like, sometimes, but it's not.
What do you say is like a what?
Like an enigma.
Oh, okay, dude. You need to be careful, man. You need to be careful when you say words, man.
Yeah. But like, right. No, but just like, it's just it's real interesting that like how like it's not weird because we've seen like teams in so many other sports where it's just filled with talent but just doesn't gel.
Yeah.
This is just like probably just another example of one of them, and I think I still think it will go down. I hope it will go down the wire just like you. Obviously, I hope the Celtics win because I got $5 on them, like our bet that we have. But yeah, no, sorry, not Celtics. Mine's the Raptors. But like I hope that Celtics go a bit further because that was my prediction that they will come through.
Yep.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Now I'm a bit like a bit sheepish on like on their stock right now. But anyways, let's move on to the other series, the 76ers against the Raptors. So the Raptors had started off with their 2 home court games. They got split. They dropped the game at home to the 76ers. And yesterday, they got essentially beat up by the 76ers in Philly.
By Joel Embiid.
Yeah, Joel Embiid. Mr. Money Time, Joel Embiid.
Big fan of the process.
Yeah. But like I don't know. I think I feel bad for Kawhi because Kawhi is kind of like playing out of his socks right now, right? But he's not getting really any help from his all-star teammate Kyle Lowry, who's sunk only points. But then again, like I've seen Kyle Lowry so many times against the against the Cavaliers and against LeBron, and he never seems to show up in these big games. Just like DeMar DeRozan, that like these are just the players that I don't think will ever make the next tier because of whatever limitation, because of talent limitation or mental limitation or whatever. But it really shows that this is the very best the Raptors can get up to. I don't think they'll ever make the NBA Finals with this core of a team. If they want to make it, they have to rip the team up and keep Kawhi, find some way to keep Kawhi and build around him. But Kawhi.
If they're gonna do that though, like if the mandate at the end of the season is all right, we're gonna rebuild, right? Kawhi's not gonna stay.
Yep, true. Kyle Lowry is just not it, dog.
Yeah. I mean, so it seems. Although, I mean, they're only 2-1 down, right? Like it's still it's still anyone's series, and like I said, like my pick is the Sixers. I still think they're gonna go through. I think they got too many weapons. I think they're too good. I know. I understand Kawhi's playing out of his mind. Like he has to. But yeah, I mean, just the Raptors are gonna lose, man. Like they have so many pictures with Drake, man. Like it just
too much of the Drake curse.
Yeah, man. Like it's just it just can't work, man. Like I think that in itself should tell you.
Drake fucked the season up. Drake fucked the season up by posting a photo of Kawhi on his thing. You just enhance the curse even more.
Yeah, man. Like
Kawhi needs to run to LA. But I think shit's crazy. I think this game. I hope this game goes down to the wire as well because it's interesting. Because I think
it will. I think you're not giving the Raptors enough credit. But I think it will go down to the wire.
I got $5 on them. If anything, I won't give them all the credit. But to be fair, like the Raptors have like they have solid other options in in like Marc Gasol, Siakam. Siakam's been playing really, really well as well. So he's got weapons. But I mean, I'm talking about the guards. The guards just aren't showing up. Fucking like Kyle Lowry sinking 7 points. Come on, man. Like that's just that says enough. He's your second guy, second all-star of the team.
I'd like to see them utilize Marc Gasol more.
Yes.
In the offense, just because I feel that for whatever reason, he hasn't been utilized as much as I think he should. He has playoff experience. He's a big man that can spread the floor. He's very good with his hands, so he can play the pick and roll. Maybe it'll be interesting to see because I'm sure that it'll happen in the series. Right? I'm sure that it'll happen. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens in the next game. If that's the adjustment that they make.
Yeah. I mean, let's move on to the last series between Portland and the Portland Trailblazers against the Denver Nuggets. Game 3 is still going on. Then,
Still going on.
The fourth overtime.
Still going on. I'm watching it on my second screen.
Damn, like, how do you think this is going to turn? I asked you this. You think the Denver Nuggets have too much talent compared to the Portland Trailblazers? I chose the Trailblazers because I thought Dame is that guy after coming out against the series against Russell Westbrook's OKC. And it seems like he's like running a bit out of gas. And I don't think it's because of like talent or pressure or anything. It's more of just like he looks really tired,
I mean, you can't expect
him
you can't expect a star player to play, at that superstar level every single game. I think that's unreasonable. So, I think what you're saying is a bit unfair. But he's going to have bad games. Every player has bad games. He's going to have bad games. I just want to put out like the point that it's just really tough to be a one-man team in the playoffs, especially. You need help. And I mean, like looking at this series, you look at the box score. You have to put your hands up to CJ McCollum. He's on 41 points. Yeah, 41 points right now. Yeah, the box score, the box score lies sometimes. So. Like McCollum's first of all, I don't think the Blazers are a one-man team, right? Like at the very worst, they're a two-man team, right? They're two guards, right? So when one goes off, the other one, or rather, when one is not doing that well, the other one has to step up. And in general, with the Blazers, that has happened. I think the fact that they lost Jokic sucks. But I have to say, I think Kanter has been doing really well.
You're going to bring him up, Enes Kanter. He's been playing really well during the playoffs. He's been really important for the Blazers.
Yeah, and considering that he's injured as well, right?
Yeah, his shoulder.
And he's playing through, he's playing through a shoulder injury, right, for this game. But then again, a lot of players play through injuries in the in the playoffs. But I think both on the defensive and an offensive end, particularly on the defensive end, I think he's been playing really well this playoffs. And Damian Lillard, despite him not having a great shooting night tonight, right, he's still facilitating a lot of movement, and he's still facilitating a lot of baskets.
And he's giving a lot of he's spacing. He's giving a lot of his other players a lot of space because of the amount of attention he draws. I think let's focus more on the Nuggets. Let's talk about Jokic, man. That guy's a funny. That guy literally is a joker, man. He's a funny guy. I was watching him talk about what they were asking, why don't you score more or something, and he's saying if I get basket, I'm happy. If I give an assist, we both happy. I was like, this guy is funny, man. He
so Jokic, right? Like, I was a bit concerned prior to the start of the playoffs that he wouldn't be able to live up to his regular season form. Mm-hmm. Right, and in the first couple of games against the Spurs, he didn't, right?
Yeah.
But he's really sort of come into his own, as that Spurs series progressed, and now as this Blazers series has started, right? He's really started to come into his own. He seems more comfortable on the floor with the high intensity in the playoffs, and this guy can play, man. And this guy can play at a very, very, very high level. And I think it's he's a big pudgy guy. He's a pudgy guy.
He doesn't look athletic at all.
He doesn't look athletic at all.
Yeah.
But he is but he's got better ball handling skills than a lot of people who are smaller than him.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. If you how you can tell he's good if you listen to a full black sport podcast, a hood podcast about NBA players, and they're talking about Jokic, he's good. He's good.
Yeah, and the Nuggets have this very interesting sort of system where he a lot of the times he's the primary ball handler, right?
Yeah,
it's because of his ability to pass the ball.
Yeah.
And to be fair, this guy stepped up. Like I said, again, I don't think that they'll win their conference.
Yeah.
that's because of I think they like the pedigree, and I think that was a bit evident in the Spurs series because in the they're a better team than the Spurs, like no doubt, right? Like player for player, like they're a better team than the Spurs, right? And the regular season record shows it as well, right? But the Spurs took them to 7, right? And part of the reason for that, I think, is because the Spurs, first of all, have Greg Popovich, and second of all, they have players. They're veteran players who've been in the playoffs and know how to play the game in the playoffs. Right?
Yeah.
So,
whereas the Nuggets, that was like their first win of a series in quite a while, right? Or was it?
Yeah. All these players are new to the playoffs. So, yeah, like and they tend to be a bit streaky sometimes. Like Will Barton, like Jamal Murray, Gary Harris. They tend to be a bit streaky sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So like and obviously Jokic, who's the leader of this team.
Yeah. I think like this team is more of a a talent spread team rather than Jokic is a superstar. Don't get me wrong, but like in terms of how some teams just have like a standout superstar. For the Nuggets, is more of like there is a standout player, but like he's not like super top tier, and he's like just at the tier below, and the rest of the talent is like instead of having a reliable second man, it's like a talent spread out between the rest of the team.
Yeah, but having said that, I think this team will do much better next season, right? Because every player has a bit more experience, and especially if they make the playoffs next season again, I think that they'll do. I know they're still in it now, but like I said, I don't expect them to win their conference. I think if everything keeping everything the same, next season they'll be better because they'll have the experience and they'll know how to get there, and they'll know better what to do, and they'll be all better. And of course, Jokic will be a better player as well.
Yeah. Wow, we spent about just over 45 minutes on the playoffs. Shall we head now down to football?
Wait, but who do you pick for this? So you pick the Blazers for this Nuggets for the series.
And I'm still sticking with the Blazers. I mean, they have two balls. What do you call it when you have two changeovers left because there's 27 seconds left? What do you call it? A 2-ball game.
Is it changeovers? What?
Not changeover, turnovers. Is it? What do they call it? Is it a 2 turnover game?
It's 2 possessions, man.
2 possessions. Yeah, there are 2 possessions left. So
it's a 1 possession game at the moment because there's only 1 point. But there's 27 seconds left in the game. Yeah.
Oh, so don't you call it? Okay, never mind. You can educate this to me off the air. Shall we move on to football? Oh, I picked the Blazers. You picked the Nuggets because you think they just have a more talented team. But I picked the.
I'm not sure, honestly. Like whether, like I said, it's about pedigree, right?
Yeah.
And I think I know the Blazers, haven't really done that well in the playoffs, as well. But I think they have more experience, a bit more pedigree.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'll pick the Nuggets. I'll pick the Nuggets just to be different.
Yeah. No, I just picked the Portland Trailblazers because Dame Lillard has been in the first round of playoffs for the last 3-4 seasons and just always struggled to make it past. And when he made it past the Thunder, it seemed like he took a big step forward. And I feel like that kind of momentum will kind of drive them through, hopefully. Now they're in front by 2 points. And 17 seconds left to go. You never know, man. Who knows? It might go OT5, but we'll see what happens, man. It's an interesting series. I think this will go down to the wire. What about you?
Yeah, I can see this one going 7 games. I can see it going 7 games.
Don't you think the second round is just like a really good round in the NBA compared to the seasons before? To be honest, I can't really recall. But what I will say is that I think a vast majority of people really expected the playoffs to really start in the second round rather than the first. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's great. I think the one of the strong reasons why the playoff is more interesting for me, like in terms of the other teams performing, is because LeBron is not in there. LeBron's not filling all the news, all the media, all the hype around the playoffs, and I think that has really helped. All these other superstars in terms of shine, in terms of hype, in terms of coverage.
Honestly, I disagree with the narrative, man. Like, I disagree with the narrative, and I think it's primarily because the other teams have gotten better. Like, even if LeBron's in the playoffs, the other teams have gotten better. Like, over the years, like a lot of these teams. Like, look at Denver, the Sixers, the Celtics, the Bucks. Like, over the years when LeBron was winning championships, right? Like, they were in rebuild mode. Like, all these teams were in rebuild mode, right? So that's why there's not much to talk about. But then, now that they've sort of have completed or on the way to completing the rebuild, like, all these teams have gotten better. So yeah, I question that narrative a bit, honestly.
I think that's a good point.
Right, let's move on.
But, yeah, true. Maybe that's why there weren't that much eyes on them. But for me, it's just that I think it's real. I like it that there's more news coverage on every. It feels like even on House of Highlights, there's more focus on. Obviously, there's the biggest focus is towards the Warriors Rockets game, but still even the games like the Nuggets, the Blazers against the Nuggets or the Blazers against OKC. These are big moments. So I think it's great. Game 7. I think Trailblazers to take it. You want to quickly run through all the games again? Let's see, clearly explain who our picks are. So let's start with the Warriors.
So I'll go Warriors, Nuggets, Bucks, Sixers.
So I go Warriors, Trailblazers, Celtics, Raptors. So we'll see what happens, man. I might lose $5, or you might lose $5 in the coming days. All right, let's move on to football. Champions League first leg have been played over the last week. Right. Ajax took a 1-goal advantage.
I want to ask you a question. Are any of the results surprising for you? Are either of the results surprising for you?
Surprising? The result surprising? No, but the score line a bit. I thought
Ajax won 1-0 away.
Ajax won 1-0 away.
And Barcelona beat 3-0 at home.
Yeah. So let's go over the Spurs Ajax game. So Ajax managed to take an away goal from the Spurs new stadium. I personally thought that I could foresee them losing, but I was leaning more towards a draw or a 1-0 win, but a tight game nonetheless. When
I gotta say, I saw Spurs losing this game. And
you saw Spurs losing this matchup.
Yep.
And do you think it's because of the way they play? Do you think it's more stylistically, or do you think it's because of the injuries? Because I'm leaning more towards because of the injuries.
It's because of injuries. Their team is decimated, right? And and I was even more convinced of my thought when after they lost in the league on the weekend.
Yeah.
Added to the fact that Son Heung-min was suspended for this first leg. So credit where credit's due. They've managed, Pochettino has managed to guide this team super well over the whole season, and paper over the fact that they did not buy anyone this summer, right? But I think that finally has caught up to them. Their squad depth or lack thereof has finally caught up with them.
Yeah. I think that I still lean more towards Spurs. I think they do have a better. I think you would agree with me. Full strength Spurs have a better team. They have Son coming back, and they're a team who can kind of score goals, right? They have Lucas Moura. Obviously, Ali had a bad game. I don't think he had a particularly great season if you think about it, actually. And this could be due to injuries and so on.
Yeah, it's a very injury-interrupted season, to be fair.
I lean more towards them, and I feel like, and I think Spurs, I mean, like, if you had to pick a team to win from this kind of, this side of the knockout stage, I would still pick Spurs as a better matchup rather than Ajax. Because I think if Ajax were to play against Barcelona, like, I think Barcelona will rip them to shreds.
Blazers have won. Blazers won. By the way, Blazers won.
Yeah, game 3, baby.
Go on. Yeah.
Who's the last bucket? I know this is a bit like sidebar, but like, who sunk the last bucket for the Blazers?
I think it was it was a Rodney Hood 3-pointer. But anyway,
didn't show up for playoff finals. I mean, the NBA championship to show up for them. Fine. Okay. Yeah. So that's my take. I think I'm leaning more to I actually want, like, for me it's like, you kind of want whoever comes out of this semi-final to win the Champions League, don't you? Like,
no, I mean, maybe, but we all know who's winning the Champions League this season.
Barcelona?
Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
Watching the games, right, against United, against Barcelona, and United against City, I'm actually super convinced that if City were to play Barcelona, City would rip them to shreds. Like,
I don't know about that.
I feel like a bit robbed from my prediction that City and Liverpool are the two strongest teams. Because the Barcelona against Liverpool game, Liverpool had chances, you know? Fucking Salah couldn't fucking sink that almost open goal. All he had to do was get it on target, and it most likely would have gone in.
Yeah, but people are saying, but people forget, like, Dembele had the chance at the end as well, and he missed as well.
Yeah, but
so instead of 3-0, it could have been 4-1.
If that, but I mean, this is like, could have, would have, should have. But you never know, man. You can't write Liverpool off, man. They remember that night in Istanbul. You never know.
And also you remember the fact that last season or season before, like, Barcelona were 4-1 up and they lost 3-0 to Roma away.
True. Yeah. No, but Liverpool can score goals. I'm not convinced by Barcelona's defense. I'm just a bit worried because, like, Liverpool are missing Firmino, and he's a very important piece of getting, like, to get, like, Mane and Salah more involved. So it's like a bit shitty.
I mean, okay, if you want to talk about the Barcelona-Liverpool game, right? I thought overall the scoreline of 3-0 was a bit unfair. I don't think it truly represented, like, the game wasn't as one-sided as a 3-0 scoreline would suggest. But I think what it does represent is that
how good Messi is.
Yeah, this game was about, like, Messi, right? And it was the same in the United second leg, right? It was about Messi, right? Yeah. He's the guy that changed the game, and he's the guy that won the game for his team, right? Yeah. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I'm not convinced of Barcelona defense either. They're definitely not as strong as they used to be. But taking a 3-0 advantage, right, into the second leg game, right? And let's say they go through, even, like, against Spurs and Ajax, whoever goes through on that side, Barcelona will be favorite by miles. Miles, they'll be favorite.
Overwhelming favorites.
Yeah. So, I get what you're saying. Barcelona are not as strong a team as they used to be. I agree with you.
But they're still strong.
They are the favorites to win this Champions League because they are better than the teams remaining.
Yeah. Unless Liverpool pulls off a miracle. But anyways, okay, let's get back to that Spurs-Ajax game, okay? So I thought that was a very open game. Everyone's, like, been saying, Spurs were terrible. I don't agree. I think they did the best with what they have. You know what I mean? You have a very slow player in Llorente, which, you can't do anything about because you don't have the players, right? So you're forced to play in that specific way. I thought the possession stats, I have the stats in front of me. It's 52%, 48% towards Ajax, 12 shots for, it was at Tottenham, 1 shot on target, and 2 shot on target for Ajax. It's very tight. It was a tight game, but everyone was talking up as if Ajax were like dominating Tottenham, and if you read the news. But if you watch the extended highlights and you watch bits of the game, it seemed like a very even game. But I think the reason why is everyone's like saying, "Oh, Ajax are going to the finals because of the away goal." And but I'm not. I'm convinced that once Son comes back, he's gonna cause Ajax a lot of trouble. Especially,
yes and no, because it'll be interesting to see the game plan going into into this game, right? Because like they're carrying a lead into the into the game, right? They're carrying the one goal lead into the second leg. Right, so it'll be interesting to see their approach, like whether they're we need to be a bit more conservative, or not, especially when Son comes back. Having said that, though, I still think that, like, even with Son there, yes, maybe they can score goals, but I feel that Ajax will score a goal, right? Because if you want to talk about teams where they're maybe their defense isn't the best, I actually feel like, and I've felt this way the whole time, that the Spurs defense isn't the best. Like, you can score goals against this defense.
I think Spurs defense is better than, it's probably the third or fourth best in the league. Yeah, it's probably the third.
Being the third team in the league, like, well done. Well done for that. But in terms of like will they concede goals, right? I think they will. Like Spurs concede goals. So yeah, like
Defense are better than what you think they are. Like, because against Dortmund they conceded no goals. They managed to, like, at home not concede to City at all. So I mean, and if I'm drawing up the results now. They have had quite a few 1-0s over the last few weeks of So I think they're good. But okay, maybe like against like a pure attacking team in Ajax, it's a bit different, right? Because they go for broke in terms of like trying to attack you. So maybe, I think
and this game where you say like, oh, against Man City they didn't concede. Like, they were under the cosh the whole time, man.
Yeah, like, but like the defense was able to.
And Man City missed so many chances.
I just think City. I think
like there were so many chances that they created and so many that they missed.
This is where we have to agree to disagree. I think that defense is good. I think they're better than what you think that it is. Would they concede a goal against Ajax? Yeah, I could see them taking a goal, but I don't know. I just have a feel that Son and Lucas might do something. Both of them spearheading the attack against like a slow Daily Blind, and De Ligt is not. I mean, he's good, but like imagine going against one of the paciest players you go against in the forms of Son and Lucas. You never know, man. Like.
I feel Lucas Moura as well. He's put it this way, right? Lucas Moura, right? Like, there's a reason that he's second choice in the Spurs, like in the Spurs squad. Like, there's a reason, and that reason is because I feel like he's a flashy player, and he's a player like like when he scores, when he does well, he looks really good. But I think he's a sort of player that is a bit wasteful with the ball and with possession.
Yeah.
And also, like, maybe he doesn't, how to say, what's the right way to say it? Maybe he's a flair player. He needs other people to help him look good as well.
Yeah, he's a flair player, which he's a flair player which is not efficient, right? Essentially, that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So,
and he's not really a game changer, but he's more of a benefit. Of a good team. So yeah, I mean, I think he has that bit of quality to him. I agree with you; he's a bit wasteful. But then again, you don't really have anyone else, right? He's still your best option.
Yeah. So it's like, so he has to play, and this is what I mean when I say, like, I think that the fact that they haven't increased their squad depth is coming to bite them now, right? Like, they've managed to stave that whole thing off for so many months, up till pretty much the end of the season, and I think it's come back to bite them now.
Yeah. Okay.
Because imagine if they had, like, they had better options. Like, on the weekend they played Gazzaniga, right? Gazzaniga is like, what, a guy from the academy, came out from the academy, and has been on the fringes of the first team for. I mean, he's not like academy age anymore, but he's on the fringes of the first team. But everyone agreed a couple of years ago, this guy's really not that good. He didn't even have a number. He wasn't even given a number for this season. And yet he played in the league game on the weekend.
Yeah.
Like, he was given a number that weekend.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason was because Spurs have no one else. Like, a player who was told that he was not in the plans and he would not play this season was forced to play because Spurs have no one else.
Yeah, and you see that they're, like, now filling their squad with a lot of academy players. Says a lot, It kind of shows you that, the difference, the gulf in terms of resources, right? Because it's the Spurs first team are loaded with, like, talents, but if you think about it, none of them were real big signings except Lucas Moura, right? If you think about it, and the rest are just academy players or fringe players, not fringe players, but players they bought off, like, lower table teams, right? In the form of Ben Davies. And so on, Ben Davies and Kieran Trippier and so on. And they developed them, right? They developed them and molded them into the players they are today, which is like more of a top table team type of players. So, yeah, I think you're right. But
I mean, that doesn't matter, right? The fact of the matter is, like, even if Spurs had £100 million to go and spend, right? Like, Spurs are not going to get a tier 1 player.
Yeah.
Right. Like, when the market has, like, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Juventus, all that, and Spurs, right? Spurs are not going to win out over those teams.
Yep.
Right. So Spurs will always be, or rather, Spurs are a team where they have to buy players who are pretty good, but not good enough to be, to attract that tier 1 team attention, right? So that doesn't matter, in the sense, like, they're not gonna go out and buy Neymar tomorrow, like no way in hell, right? But it's just a fact of the matter that they need bodies, right? They need more players, full stop.
Yeah.
And the fact that that Pochettino was upset that they didn't buy in the summer, they didn't have money in the summer. And everyone said, Spurs won't do well this season because they didn't reinforce in the summer. Yeah, they've defied everyone's expectations. And then now it's coming to bite them. So, yeah, like, in the summer, there's money to spend, apparently. So we'll see what happens.
There's quite a bit, 100+ millions to spend, which is surprising, right? I think the reason why is because Daniel Levy sees that they're close, and it's like a testament to the man who I shall not mention, the name that shall not be mentioned. He said that the Spurs are so close that he thinks it warrants for them to kind of blow the bank a little, to try with this core of players. And to be fair, like, Spurs have, like, a lot of their players are committed to the team, right? Like, Kane signed a 6-year contract. Dele Alli still has a few years to go on. The only important player with a big question mark in terms of of signing a new contract is Christian Eriksen, because he's been on the news the whole season, about being touted by Real Madrid and so on, So it will be interesting. I mean, as United fans, right? Me and you, we're really looking forward to the transfer window. That's all we're looking forward to, essentially, right? And I think it'll be interesting to see whether Spurs are able to maintain their talent level for next
Yeah,
season.
I mean, this thing about the money being available, I think the big difference between last summer and the Jan window compared to the coming summer is that the stadium is finished,
Yeah,
right? So I'm not sure how the money comes from, like whether he's like Denley has taken out a mortgage against the now completed stadium, with
yeah,
guarantee of income to get that money or whatever. Like, I don't know how it works, right? But that's the
yeah.
big difference in how the money has become available, right?
Mm.
So that's the one thing. So I don't know if they're quote unquote breaking the bank, right?
Yeah.
But the second thing is that, the players are committed to Spurs and say, yeah, you can say Harry Kane signed a 6-year contract, Dele Alli signed an extension as well. But come on, man, you and I both know in this day and age, right, contracts really don't matter that much.
Yeah, true. Like,
if a player wants to leave, they're gonna leave. And
yeah.
let's say Pochettino quits next season, right? And then Spurs finish sixth. Yeah, there's gonna be exodus. Like, despite Harry Kane having 5 years left on his contract, like, if Man City come calling, he's gonna go, man.
We'll see, lah. We'll see. It'll be interesting. Like,
because I think the loyalty of the players lies primarily with
Pochettino.
Yeah, the manager, Pochettino, right? And what he's been able to do more so than, than the club.
Yeah. I think, I agree with you. It'll be interesting. I think you already gave out your predictions. You think Barcelona and Ajax are going through. It's going to be a Barcelona-Ajax final.
And Barcelona are going to destroy them in the final.
4-0?
I can see Ajax scoring.
You can imagine them the first goal early on, and then they get torn apart.
I can see it being. I can actually see it being a very entertaining, like a 4-2 or something, like something like that.
Like the World Cup final. Yeah. I think Tottenham gonna go through. I think my brain is telling me that Spurs, and it's gonna be a Spurs Barcelona final, and Barcelona are gonna destroy them 4-0.
That one I can see. Yep. For sure I can see that one. Yeah.
You would just see it just be like the United game, right? Like, Spurs will look cute at the start, have a few chances, and then when Barcelona scores, like, Spurs will struggle to get the ball away, ball from them and stuff, and then they'll slowly pick them apart, which is so sad. It just makes you sit there when you wake up. You go like, this is so fucking unfair. You're watching like a guy bully the other team. That's why, like, I would have loved to see a Liverpool Man City final or a Man City Barcelona final.
I wouldn't like to see Liverpool Man City. I generally don't like Champions League finals when it's two teams from the same country.
Yeah, it defeats the purpose of the Champions League, right?
Yeah, I like to see like different countries play each other. So, maybe like Barcelona Man City would be very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Liverpool, like, in this case, Liverpool Spurs, I think that would be the worst final.
True. I just want to... Okay, this is like a bit off topic, but like, it's not really off topic. It's about the Champions League. Ellison was telling me... Ellison, my co-worker, shout out Ellison. He told me the old Champions League format was that the winner of every league used to be in the Champions League, and not not multiple teams from the same league used to compete in it. You know what I mean? Is that true?
I can't remember. Like, that must have been...
What's your thought on that? If it's like 32 leagues, 32 European leagues around Europe, and the winner of those leagues perform in this tournament. I think it's a bad idea because I think
it's a bad idea as well.
I think it would just be the Club World Cup, right? It would just be like the Club World Cup.
But also because I think the whole idea of the Champions League really is you want to see the best teams against the best teams.
Yeah.
And the champion of Slovenia is not going to be better than, the fourth best team in England.
True. No, but he's arguing that if they kept this the case, there would have been a possibility that the talent spread would be better because like all these teams would want to play Champions League. But I'm like, nah, bro. I think just some leagues just have bigger markets like the Premier League, right?
And the thing is all the champions of all the leagues, of all the European leagues, have an opportunity to play in the Champions League.
Yeah.
It's just that the bigger leagues, they automatically qualify into the group stage draw, and the smaller leagues, based on UEFA coefficient, go through the qualifying rounds.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's just like good to bring up that what would we think, I think that I like the format the way it is. It'll be interesting. Who knows? Apparently, if Arsenal wins the Europa, if it's like a Chelsea Arsenal Europa League, and they take and it's Tottenham and Arsenal in third and fourth place respectively, and if Arsenal wins the Europa League, and if United finish fifth, United can still go to Europe.
No, I don't give a shit, man. No one gives a shit about the Europa League, man.
No, as in we can go to the Champions League.
How's that possible? Oh, if but an English club has to win the Champions League.
Oh yeah, an English club has to win the Champions League as well. Yes.
So that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, just so you know, man, there's still a chance.
That's it. There's also a chance that I bag Scarlett Johansson.
True, but you have to be rich.
There's also a chance.
You have to be rich like Joel.
There's probably a bigger chance of that.
No, it's not. All right. Anyways, all right. Let's wrap this show up, man. Thanks, Justin, for recording. Thanks, guys, for listening. With Zero Credibility Sports. Goodbye.